In this video, I will talk about publishing in Canvas and how it differs from publishing in MyCR Sakai. I'll pull up Mozilla Firefox, and here's of course, the College of the Redwoods homepage. So first, I will bring up MyCR, and let's talk about publishing, which is one of the many settings that you would put or change in MyCR. So I'll log in. So at this point, I'll pull up an old class shell that I have, environmental geology, a year ago. And so here we see the little logo that says unpublished site, which of course to us we know that means that students will not even see it, let alone have any ability to gain access to it until we publish that site. And that is in the site editor. That was a single place where we'd come in and manage the access. So in its unpublished form, MyCR Sakai referred to it as basically a draft state. And so if we were to publish the site, then the entire site would become visible and available. Every piece and part that we had invoked would become visible and available to the students once we updated it. I'm not going to do that, however. I just wanted to point out that that's how you go from an unpublished to a published status in the entire site. So I'll log out, and I will go ahead and log into Canvas. Canvas is much more subtle, gives many more levels of control over not only publishing the entire site, but what part of the site do you choose to publish. So here I am at the user dashboard. I can see the various courses. In this case, several of these are for internal purposes. This is the Canvas Support and Resources website that we are building for support of faculty and students. In any event, notice that this particular site has content. It is currently published. So noticing this logo, it's green, it looks like a cloud, it's checked. It means that the entire site, well, not necessarily. It means, though, that the site is accessible. But control of individual pieces and parts are still up to the instructor in terms of what do we give access to. Notice here in the Pages area, this particular home page in the Pages area is currently published. But by clicking on it, we could unpublish, so this page itself becomes invisible, unpublished, even though the entire site is published. When we view all pages that Reno has put in here, notice that all of these pages appear in a solid green. The logo, this column, the green cloud checkmark logo means that this component, for example, this page called Canvas Resources, which is currently the front page, that's the page where when you load this site, that's the page that's displayed. All of these pages are published. So let's suppose that Reno decided to unpublish the student help videos. There. Now, suddenly the students would not be able to see this component, although the rest of the site's still visible to them. So in short, in Canvas, there is a tremendous degree of control that you as the instructor have over what you want to show and publish, what you don't want to show, so you don't have to publish. That is wonderful, but it adds the burden that we have to think about publishing piece by piece. So it's a great resource. It's a great control ability to do this. But you have to keep your wits about you. So if a student says, hey, I'm not seeing something, maybe you forgot to publish that thing. So this is a site that's already been published. Let's take a look at another one. This is the CR Canvas community. This is an area which some of us are using for development purposes. It is currently unpublished. And in fact, when you start building your shell, it will be unpublished. And this reminder down here comes up, says, hey, what are some next steps? So these are suggested next steps on a site that has never been published. I'll get rid of that. So you can see that this basically is the site. As we are starting to put this together, is currently unpublished. By clicking here, that site would become published. I'm not going to do that, however. The online teaching and learning training site is also currently unpublished. And again, this site shows, and your unpublished shell will also show these kinds of checks, next steps, in terms of what all do you have to do before your course is really ready to go. Notice that publish the course is the last thing that you will do. And Canvas helps walk you through the steps that you have to do. I'll clear that. I'm going to take a look at a live class that I'm teaching right now, Geology 10 this fall. And you'll notice that here on the home page, you're not seeing the publish control because the site is currently already published. There I would have to go to settings. When I click on settings, notice that it says course is published. You don't see an unpublish. This may be a surprise to some, but it says you cannot unpublish this course if there are graded student submissions. And so some people will say, well, how do I turn it off? If I cannot unpublish the site, then I don't understand how to control it. That may be your question. So this takes us into a few of the other settings. Clearly the course has already been published. There are students in it. There have been many assignments so far here in November. We're in week 11. Of course, the site is full of grades and assignments and so on. Notice that I will edit the course details, which brings a few of these settings up so that I can modify them. The start and end date are things that we can actually modify. And so I set the start date as August 20th. Now the fall semester actually began on August 23rd, but setting it here allowed my students to enter as of August 20th. So I'm the gatekeeper, and I'm saying I'll open the gate to students several days before the class really has its first assignment, its first set of discussions forums, and so on. And likewise, I said that this is the Friday of finals week, and at 11:55 p.m. that course is no longer going to be available, and users can only participate in the course between these 2 days. So once again, Canvas gives us great control over when we essentially make the course open and completely closed, in this case a published class. And that would be within the course details. So this is a series of settings. There are a lot of other settings that you can make and change in here, some of which are probably rather important for a person to consider, but that's beyond the purview of this particular video. So I'll cancel that out, and essentially I think that covers the outcome of discussing publishing in Canvas.